You guys remember that white E92 M3 that it had like blue wheels on it or something I always would see downtown on Saturday nights? Well, it just drove by, so it's cool to see a M car out on the roads. It's 1:36. Headed to the grandparents' house. I mentioned yesterday we're going to the auto show tomorrow, so we're gonna go do the banking stuff today. It's 51 degrees, which is quite pleasant. Cloudy, unfortunately. It's rolled in overnight, I guess, but I'll take the temperature. It's not bad. I got the sunroof open. 13.94 gallons of gas for $1.52, thanks to a BP credit card. Friggin' right. Hey, what's up? I just saw a 428 Grand Coupe, whatever they call that. It's the modern 4 Series 4-door. Pretty cool, I guess. I mean, I think that's going to look really good in an M version, which I don't think exists yet, but it's a sexy body, just like the 6 Series Coupe. Okay, I wouldn't even buy the sedan or the coupe or the convertible. I would just buy the 4-door coupe. That thing's gorgeous. So, addressing now all you pot smokers. That sounds bad, but so we had a request yesterday when I mentioned the people smoking weed in the Honda ahead of me on my way home from, where was I? Was that Kent on Wednesday? I guess it was. So they asked for my 2 cents on legalization and use of marijuana. So I don't know. I've kind of fluctuated on this. Like, if you had asked me a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have said definitely don't legalize it. That's going to be a big problem. A year before that, I said definitely legalize it, tax it, let's use it as a revenue opportunity. And today I would say I'm somewhere in between. I see the value of both legalizing and keeping it illegal. The problem is people are going to do it regardless. You can get it. It isn't safe to get it. You don't know what's been laced in with it, so you got that issue. But legalizing it could mean it gets into the hands of people that otherwise wouldn't have started it. It may not technically be addictive, but it can certainly be used as a gateway drug. I'll never use it, but I certainly know people that do, and I understand why people do. So at the end of the day, would I vote to legalize it? Honestly, probably not. Would I go out of my way to vote to not legalize it? I don't know. Whatever happens is gonna happen. Let's face it, it's gonna be legal everywhere in a matter of years, and you know, it's not much I can do to control it, so that's the way she goes. My problem is it's gonna, you know, if you want to use it yourself and not affect anybody else, go ahead. I don't give a crap what people do with themselves, but you start using it while you're driving, it can have similar consequences to alcohol. That's going to be an issue. You get single parents using it, kids are going to suffer. That can be the case with anything though. So smart use of it, fine, but otherwise I see it as being a problem. But you know, it's going to be legal, so be smart with it, kids. In other words, if it isn't around me, doesn't affect me, I don't see it, I don't smell it, I don't care. Who would I be to tell you what you can and can't do in the privacy and safety of your own home? Had a very busy afternoon with the grandparents. We had to do a little bit of everything. We had to go over to the bank, deposit a check, get something notarized. We got deer crossing the road up here. We're gonna slow down. I already got one crack in this bumper, I don't need more. So bank, deposit, notary, gas station for fuel for the Genesis. You saw that. Unbelievable. He hasn't used his savings on the BP Visa for a while, so we cashed those out today. Go to the library to make a copy of something, and then we had to go shopping at the grocery store since I'm about to be gone for 10 days. I wanted to make sure they have all the groceries they're going to need, so you know, he can go out and get them himself, but it's easier when I'm there. So we did that, went to Applebee's for dinner. That was good. Came back, it's now 7:30, I'll be home in 5 minutes, where I may or may not be doing some suspension work on the Civic. If I'm too tired or it's cold or too wet in the garage or something, I'll just go inside and chill and relax for the rest of the day. Tomorrow's the auto show. Ken and I are going with my grandfather. We're going to pick him up at 9 and then head up to Cleveland from there. It's 11 o'clock. I've been out here in the garage for the last several hours. That's right, RFAB now supports Hondas. If you don't know what RFAB stands for, it stands for Ryan's fucking auto body. Lindsay's 2006 Civic. I drove it the other night to dinner. I felt positively unsafe. It made the 330 in its condition 2 weeks ago feel like a Ferrari F40 or something. I mean, this car was all over the place, making some horrible noises. So I could barely get under it the other day. It was freezing, so we had Honda diagnose it when it was in there for the oil change, and they diagnosed it as rear broken stabilizer link and totally blown rear struts, or rear shocks. So that's what I've been working on for the last couple hours. We've got both rear stabilizers replaced. That was a bitch. Everything on there is original to the car, 140,000 miles, rusty as hell. So I actually had to use the Dremel and cut the bolts off. Took about 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours. Let me drag my light over here so you guys can get a better look. Work on this side without melting the tire. Okay, so the sway bar in this car is laughable. It is thinner than my small finger, so that's about a 4mm sway bar. But here's the link. Obviously the new hardware, the old one, you've got to counter hold the back side of this nut with a Torx, or with an Allen, a 5mm hex head, and then back this nut out. But it was so rusted, I ended up having to get down here with the Dremel and cut this bolt off, then pull it out. Then I did the same thing on this side. I cut that bottom bolt off that holds it onto the trailing arm slash chassis, whatever that is, control arm. Then I took the actual sway bar off the car. We replaced the bushings too. So I took the sway bar off and then cut the other bolts off the top part where the link attaches to the sway bar over there, sitting on the step. So miserable job, but it's got nice new links now, new bushings. The stabilizer's totally rusty, it's shot. I can bend it with my hands, but they don't want to replace it because they're too cheap, and quite frankly, it doesn't need to handle that well, it just needs to be safe. So I did that, and then that was actually the harder part of these two jobs. The shocks, although I'm not finished and I can't be today, I'll explain that in a minute. The shocks were easy. So here's the old ones. Not rebounding, not nearly as bad as the 330s were, but definitely blown and shot. This side I have not assembled yet. Pretty simple. Come down here, there's everything on this car, it's like 14mm. I haven't used anything but 14mm. Right here is the bolt that holds the bottom of the shock onto the wheel carrier. Then it comes up here, and actually I can, let's see, let's get the light. You got to pull the carpet back a little bit, and then instead of a mount, BMWs have shock mounts. This just goes straight into the chassis, right there. Now notice that bolt's not tightened down. Well, they fit the old struts, fit the old shocks, they do not fit the new ones. I was able to secure that side because I found a random bolt down there, and it happened to be the right one. The threads on these new shocks are much closer together than the old shocks, and that bolt won't thread. I could force it, I'm not gonna do that. So I guess we're gonna have to leave the car in here tonight, or gently move it outside, and buy the right bolt from the Honda dealer tomorrow, and then I'll just thread that on, and then the job's done. I found out this car has split folding seats too. I didn't know that. 60-40 split, but yeah. So it should drive a lot better after all this. And I'm tired of working on cars, my hands are dirty. I'm gonna put that wheel on, put it on the ground, and be done. At least for today. We'll just tighten that bolt down tomorrow. Here's all the old parts. The old links, I broke most of that plastic out of there trying to counter hold with vice grips, but I could not get that to work. You can see I ground out a nice chunk of the actual bolt. I can't believe these things are original at 140, but I suppose it's possible. Rusty, cut a big groove in that bolt too. I'm not too good with the Dremel with the cutting bit on it, so I'm pretty sloppy with the way I cut these. In fact, I cut them with a way that just opened them up. Then I was able to back them off with counter holding with vice grips, like that. It's 1:06. I am physically exhausted. My back and legs and arms hurt a lot from doing all that work. Some of those bolts were so tight, it was all I could do for 100, 3/4 turns to get some of those bolts off. So I'm very much looking forward to going upstairs and crashing in bed. Of course, only to wake up in about 5 hours. So that is it. I've already told you what I have done today. It was very exciting. I'm sure you've enjoyed watching my monotonous life. So I will talk to you on Saturday. I hope your weekend is going well. Good night.